All right. Welcome to the Young Turks. I'm your host, Cenk Uygur. He's your host, Ben Mankiewicz. They're your producers and directors over there. J.R. Jackson with his new shaven face that's causing controversy throughout the country.
He couldn't be in the town.
Oh, he couldn't be. Oh, wow, that's interesting.
Everybody's got a 5 o'clock shadow in the town.
You know what? I want to ask you about that.
It's a stubble off.
I'm going to ask you about that in a second. I just didn't want to leave out Jesus there. All right, much love, much love. I just did a top vlog on mini churros. I was telling Jesus, your folks make good dessert. Okay, your people combined with American capitalism has produced a fantastic dessert called mini churros. Check out the top vlog.
I don't think mini churros come from Mexico. Yeah. I think that's like saying the nachos Bel Grande come from Mexico.
Sure, don't they? Didn't the nachos Bel Grande get? It says Grande. That sounds very Mexican.
I think that's like saying the taquitos at Cheesecake Factory come from Mexico.
Given that he comes from Jack in the Box, I think I'm pretty familiar with that. I think it's like, where did you come up with that recipe? Oh, from Guadalajara. No.
What's the Taco Bell pizza, the round pizza?
Oh, they got all sorts of cutesy names.
It's a Mexican pizza.
Yeah. So
yeah.
what's the taco thing like totally encased in a taco?
Gordita?
No, not the gordita. The gordita, that comes from Guadalajara.
Oh, totally, yeah.
The gordita.
I thought this is also the Mexican pizza.
No, the Mexican pizza is like open faced. This is like covered with a shell, and it's just got like all the.
And I'm sure like deep fried like 7 times over. I don't know.
It's like on a flour tortilla. First of all, it's delicious.
Yeah, I don't know what it's called, but here's what I know. America does everything the best, okay? We are the biggest country. There is no country that's even big, okay? Because you know why? We take the churros. The churro was a good dessert. It was a fine dessert. It really was. I've always enjoyed it. And we made it better. You know how we did it? You make them mini so that they're, easier to eat. You put chocolate in there. I mean, I don't know what these are. Is this
the gentleman...
No, because we were talking about the I'm Still Here movie on What the Flick, the Joaquin Phoenix movie, so I had to get the Gladiator clips ready.
I got you, okay. All right, well, here's what I'm... It's over. America is the biggest. No other country is big. Okay, because look, every piece of... Almost all the ethnic foods, okay? Like, I don't know what the Jews actually eat, but I know that the diners here...
Chinese food.
Okay, delis, etc., nothing better in the world, okay? Whatever your pastrami was originally, the new version here in America... Better and awesome.
Yeah. Let me tell you quick, a movie tangent, but it relates totally to what we're talking about and sort of a sense of American supremacy. So listen up, Sean Hannity. I saw a wonderful movie, which you have to see, which we'll be reviewing next week on What the Flick, which I know you've been looking forward to, Davis Guggenheim's film, Waiting for Superman, about the state of the education system in America.
Oh, right, yeah.
It's wonderful, wonderful movie, really good. And there are these great points, I think we've talked about them on the show before, about like among the 29 or 30 industrialized countries in the world where we rank in math, in English, in reading and math testing. Yeah.
We're number 1! No,
well, that's totally an interesting point. We're like, and I'm going to get it slightly wrong, like 21st and 23rd.
What?
Right.
How could that be when there's American exceptionalism? And we're like the greatest country that ever was.
And then they tested, I believe, the 10 most industrialized countries, and we came in like 8th and 9th out of some. I might be, but you get the idea.
Right.
We're in the bottom no matter how you test it. Number 1 in confidence.
I love that.
When asked how you think we did, first, we're number 1. We win. We don't think we're 21st and 23rd. No, first, we win.
But that might be partly because we don't do math well.
That may be all it is.
We're just confused about the numbers.
Right,
like,
totally.
I saw 23, I thought that meant number 1.
Right, and we're 8th. Woo! So we got to make, for here in America, we got to make big 8 foam fingers.
We're 8th!
But anyway, very telling statistics all the way around about how dumb we are and about what we think of ourselves. And the disappointment about like that they're going to need, the big tech companies are going to need, this is stuff we'll be bringing up next week on the show, but the big tech companies in the next 20 years, they're going to need 50 million people to fill those high-paying tech jobs, Oracle, Apple, and so forth. We're going to have the ability to fill with Americans about 20 million of those jobs, tops.
So 30 million goes out the window because we're not sufficiently educated.
Yeah, where do you think they're going to get them? Remember, Asia. That's it.
There's
India,
no question about
China, Japan, because they're going to be educated enough.
To the earlier point about we're number one, et cetera, it's like, you remember the stat that you probably all of you remember, the World Health Organization ranks us 37th for best healthcare in the world?
No,
Okay.
I don't think so.
Woo! Well, no, but that's exactly...
We're the best healthcare in the world!
No, but that's exactly my point.
Everywhere else in the world, if you have cancer, you die waiting to get treatment. Literally, waiting in a line. It's a fact.
Except for the fact that it's not a fact, but that's exactly what happened, right? So Fox News, a bunch of Republicans come out and they're like, look, we have the best healthcare system in the world, and these Democrats want to mess with it. But we don't. We have the 37th best, and we spend twice as much as the second country that spends the most, right? But you can't get it through the knuckleheads, head because they think that,
because a lot of people, the people at the top, many people have a very good. I don't know if even they have the best, but they have really quality health care.
Right.
I presume. I don't even know if that's true, but I'm guessing that's true.
I know ours is disastrous, but anyway. So, all right, look, we got a big, full show ahead for you guys. Second hour is going to be fantastic, unbelievable stories. It's not telling you much, but there it is. Was Joaquin Phoenix thing a hoax? We're going to find out. So let us.
We did that on What the Flick today.
You did? Yeah. Man, that What the Flick was out of control today. All right, luckily, if you're a member of the Young Turks, you get the podcast What the Flick, too. Real quick, I'm going to ask you, Town, like it or not like it? You liked it.
Can't do that.
Yeah, hey, be cool. Censor that. Okay, digitize that out later. No, don't do that. Okay.
Finkies.
Finkies, okay.
No, I gave it a 7.5. I mean,
that's big
full
for
review.
you.
Yeah, no,
because you're kind of one of those snooty critics who like to give low scores.
No, the good scores have been flowing in like crazy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there have been some really good movies lately. The Town's excellent.
Okay,
it's excellent. It's a lot of fun.
All right. Problem is I got a kid. We're going to get babysitters. I'm going to figure it out. Okay, so now let's get started.
By the way, he'd love it.
Hey, Jesus, do we have the cutie baby intro yet? Damn it. I was going to give you guys a cutie baby story. All right, maybe later. All right, look, good news, bad news about Obama. So it's another day in America, right? So first, he was at a campaign event, basically, at a fundraiser, actually, where he was taking on the corporate atmosphere in Washington and the donations and how things are secretly done. Very good stuff. Let's go to clip number 1.
They're allowed to spend as much as they want without ever revealing who's paying for the ads. That's exactly what they're doing. Millions of dollars. And the groups are benign sounding. Americans for Prosperity. Who's against that? Committee for Truth in Politics. Or Americans for Apple Pie. Moms for Motherhood. I made those last ones. None of them will disclose who's paying for these ads. You don't know if it's a Wall Street bank, you don't know if it's a big oil company, you don't know if it's an insurance company, you don't even know if it's a foreign controlled entity. In some races they're spending more money than the candidates. Not here, because here they're spending more money than the parties. They want to take Congress back and return to the days where lobbyists wrote the laws. It is the most insidious power grab since the monopolies of the Gilded Age. That's happening right now.
He's so right about that. And I think, like, come on, you got it. That's exactly right. Let's pound that home. Pound it home. Right? And at the one hand, I want to give him credit. On the other hand, I want to say, if you don't repeat that often enough, I think it's getting lost in the wilderness, even though he has a huge megaphone of the presidency there. And then he followed up with one other thing here, and then we'll discuss. Let's go to clip number 2, where he's going to make it even clearer.
We tried to fix this, but the leaders of the other party wouldn't even allow it to come up for a vote. They want to keep the public in the dark. They want to serve the special interests that served them so well over the last 19 months. We will not let them. We are not about to allow a corporate takeover of our democracy. We're not about to go back to the days.
See, that's strong language. We're not going to allow corporate takeover of our democracy. I mean, he sounds like a progressive there.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, I like that. I'm surprised more news outlets aren't covering that. I haven't seen that anywhere else.
Yeah, I mean, he does it in where was that? Like some controlled atmosphere that it doesn't appear that there's even much coverage of it. You know,
yeah.
It looks like it was shot off somebody's iPhone.
Yeah, I believe it was a fundraiser. Yeah.
You know,
maybe that's why.
Also,
maybe that's why he did it behind closed doors. Shh, corporate takeover. Let me raise your money, but let me not say that because that'll get me in trouble in public. I don't know.
I don't know either. But I tell you, let me just make, I mean, I agree with you, obviously, on what he's saying. From a political point of view, or at least to the limited extent that I can analyze the kind of thing that he's saying, I don't know whether there's a prompter there or not. I guess there is. Everything's a prompter with him. I don't say that disparagingly. It's what I do. He seems so much more at ease, and there were obviously some lines there that weren't. And I think he's, sort of stiff and off-putting. I mean, George Bush was dumb, but I think when he talks, he seems elitist. Like, I think he plays into that. This is just
he's overly careful. I think that's why.
Overly careful, and it seems, and he talks and he kind of moves his head back sometimes when he talks. That's just style. That has nothing to do with what he says. But here he was like off the cuff, and he's making those two lines up, and he's like, I don't know, I just threw those two in, and he's delivering this message, and I'm like, oh man, that's winning.
Yeah,
that's a winning guy. That's like an affable guy. That's an incredibly smart guy. That's a guy with a little sense of humor, who doesn't try too hard like George Bush did. He's not trying to be funny. He's just staying within himself. And he's delivering these populist points, but it's not like he's not like he's riling us up like Ross Perot. He's just delivering a message, and we know instinctively by looking at him, you're like, that guy's not going to turn the system on its head. He's not that kind of guy, but still, he can get some progressive stuff done. But he's not going to do it.
Yeah.
Or, I don't know, it doesn't appear he is.
Now, see, Ben, I'm torn on this. We're going to talk about it throughout the day on many different issues. I want to give him credit for that speech because I think that speech was really good. On the other hand, I always think, like, where's that been, right, for the last 2 years? And is it going to disappear after the elections because of the experience we had? On the other hand, then I feel like, well, okay, he can't ever please me, right?
Right.
Because when he says the right thing, I criticize him for not saying it before, worrying about not saying it afterwards.
Right.
So I don't want to be unfair to the guy, but that's really good. I don't know why you went away from that.
Well,
I guess that's what I'm saying.
I mean, in a sense, they're not dumb. They see poll numbers. They know that there's going to be a tremendous beating in November. It's just a question of how much of a beating, and they'd like to mitigate it. The sort of backwards conspiracy theories. Oh, I hope the Republicans win because you want to stay in power. They want to stay in power. Okay, yeah. There's no question. Want the Democrats? We're not going to have 60 in the Senate, and we're not going to have much of a majority in the House. But it would be better to be ahead, no question.
Of course.
And they're trying to do that. And if it works, there's going to be an argument there about, well, we saved it a little bit, but the key to maintaining it in 2012 is to drift more to the center. And then some will say, no, we would have lost it if you didn't do this. So the debate will continue. One would hope that he'll find his stride and will continue to, within the careful, reasoned approach that he knows that he's comfortable with, will continue at least a little to go in this direction.
Yeah, and you know what? I guess here's another. I don't know if it's damning with faint praise, but it is a little, funny kind of way praise. He's at least when in the first 2 years of his presidency, he didn't run a permanent campaign because when he runs campaigns, he's very progressive. He wasn't 2008. That's how he got elected, right? He is now. Like you're seeing all these speeches. Yeah. They got, they put the car in a ditch, can't get it out, corporate takeover, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, we've shown you a lot of clips here. Yeah. So obviously he thinks being liberal is a winning strategy politically, but he doesn't do it when he's governing. So some sort of praise is, well, I guess he thinks that's not the way to govern, and he's not willing to play politics.
I don't think anybody thinks that. It's been. Let me rephrase that. I can't remember anybody who's at least been president in a long time who thinks that's the way to govern. I mean,
yeah.
LBJ.
No, don't get me wrong. I totally agree with you because look, it's not just. I say this all the time. It's not just a matter of politics. Oh, aha! I want to show the Republicans are wrong. No, because if you're strong politically, then you can get the things that you want policy-wise. Otherwise, who cares? I don't care who wins, right? I care about the policy. So if he beat them up like this, as we saw with Bush beating up the Democrats on Iraq, and Bush beating up the Democrats on tax cuts, et cetera, you win. Your bills pass.
Right. As we've talked about before, it's a more seismic change. It's because it's been easier for a long time for Republicans to beat up Democrats because we're easier prey. We're always going to be easier prey. It's a more complicated point. As long as you're just saying strong defense, they're giant wusses who don't want to defend you, and your kids are going to get killed. And they want to spend more and not keep you safe, and they're elitists. Whereas we're saying no, there's a comprehensive, complicated tax policy, and you got to work.
I know, but we could say, that's not it. Okay, we could say
the gentleman is wrong,
and we could
rough talk him and run him off.
Okay.
Yes, I agree, but it's we have to make a more seismic shift. But that said, there's no question that there could be some strength. But even Bill Clinton wasn't that strong. He was literally the thing they said about him. He was slick. He went around him.
And sometimes he just agreed with him.
And sometimes he just agreed with him.
Right. So, all right. No, I hear you on all that, but nonetheless, bottom line is very good speech. Okay.
And we'd all like to see more of that.
Yeah, more of that. Yeah. God bless. Go forward. Right. So
more of Evan Bayh.
Okay, no, I'm gonna get to Evan Bayh. Oh, don't get me started.
It's just a little tease.
Oh, it's a good tease because you don't want to miss me.
What I like about a guy who's retiring, like George Voinovich, is that you can finally put aside re-election and stand for what you really believe in. And that's what George Voinovich did on the Republican side, and that's what oh, no, wait, that's not.
Okay, you don't want to miss the Evan Bayh stuff. Okay, but hey, Susan, I'm going to do a long quote on Obama. See if you can grab a picture. Okay, now, so that was the good side of, that's supposed to be before the show, but nonetheless, there it is, okay? So that was the good side of the speech. Now, he's in Greenwich, Connecticut at a DNC event, and here's a bad part of what Obama did as well yesterday. So this is what he says about some Democrats, the professional left, as Robert Gibbs would call them. Quote, Democrats just congenitally tend to see the glass as half empty. We get a historic health care bill passed. Oh, well, the public option wasn't there. If you get financial reform bill passed, then, well, I don't know about this particularly derivatives rule. I'm not sure that I'm satisfied with that. And gosh, we haven't brought about world peace. And I thought that was going to happen quicker. You know who you are. There's laughter throughout all this, like the people who he's raising money from are, eating this up. And he continues, we've had the most productive, progressive legislative session in at least a generation. So basically, Obama's saying here, God, were we not merciful? We gave you all of this change, and we called it historic, and you're still belly aching over it, right? But first of all, if he thinks derivatives reform is just like a minor part of, I gave you a reform.
Right. Public option, more, you're right, the derivatives reform even more so than the public option, but compared to world peace, these were not unreasonable things to ask for. World peace, that's unreasonable.
Yeah,
See, that's the part that bothers me.
Right, because then you threw that straw man in. Because name a single progressive, liberal, a professional left person who's saying, damn it, Obama should have brought me world peace by now.
I can't believe he didn't bring me world peace. He's a failure.
Yeah.
He's a failure. They're still fighting. They're still fighting around the world. Pakistan and India still don't get along.
Yeah, and how about Sri Lanka? How come Obama didn't fix that?
What a jackass.
Come on. Nobody says that.
Still trouble in Chechnya.
Now, these are reasonable issues, right? Here's how it would have been better if you asked me. Look, I tried really hard. We had really strong opposition, right? And I wish to God we had put the public option in there. I wish we had much stronger derivatives reform. That's why I fought for it. Now, we didn't get everything we wanted, but I promise that if you give me another shot, I'm going to go after those guys again. I'm going to go after those rules again, and we're going to make it better. Well, come on. How is that not 100 times better?
Well, and because that's essentially saying almost more than he would want to say. I know that's what you'd like to hear, and I understand. That's what I'd like to hear, too. But there's even a halfway point between that and what you said of, look, I know progressives, I think we've had a very progressive administration. I mean, saying we've had the most progressive administration in a generation, that's 25 years. It's 2010, that's 1985. That's just 8 years of Bill Clinton. Yeah.
So he's saying I'm slightly more progressive than Bill Clinton.
Okay. Yeah, you know what? You can go further. Go ahead. Take it from 1968. We've had the most progressive administration in 42 years. Good for you.
Yeah, besides which he, of course, doesn't say that because he knows he can't compete with Carter. Is it because he doesn't even want to?
He can compete with
Carter.
No,
but he thinks oh wait, if I say I'm more liberal than Carter, then Fox News will beat me up.
Oh, right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right, but he could. It's true.
Right.
I mean, or I don't even know. But it's why it's irrelevant. It's only 25. So what he could say is, there are things that you wanted that I didn't think we could get past, and I understand that you want that, but I still think these are good pieces of legislation, and I don't know that it helps to spend all our time complaining about the things we didn't get, and instead appreciating the things that we did get. And these fights are never over, and these changes are never over as we continue to go forward. It doesn't say, I'm going to go back and fight for it, because he might not be able to go back and fight for it. But it doesn't suggest, what it doesn't do is say,
right,
screw you for wanting world peace.
Yeah, and politically speaking, how stupid is it before an election? I know they're angry. I know they're frustrated. They think they changed the world, and we couldn't disagree more. So that drives them crazy. They just want the credit. They're like, "Come on, we did it," and we just don't think you did it. And we have an honest disagreement about that.
I don't
right?
think. By the way, I don't think they think they changed the world. I don't. I don't think they think that. I don't think they care whether they changed the world. I think they want to make sure that you turn out and vote with excitement, and that the people that the Lanny Davis crowd also turns out and votes, and that I don't give credit or not, just show.
Yeah, and but it's even if you are that frustrated that you didn't get the proper credit in your mind, etc., you don't say before an election to your base, "Hey, you were unreasonable, you were schmucks," and make fun of them.
Yeah, because it's you know what, I think it is reasonable, because there are moments that I've felt, enough with the belly aching, like the endless belly aching, like enough with the dismissing everything as pointless. The financial reform bill isn't pointless. It isn't. It unquestionably should have attacked the core of the problem more. But as I think you've laid a groundwork for doing that. I think you've made it much easier to do that. I have no idea whether they're going to do it, but I think you've made it possible to have a bill that just deals with derivatives, even if it's 4 years from now. And same with a public option once you've seen that maybe this doesn't work. I don't know whether you will. But so I get like, God, Democrat, Jesus, we won't even allow ourselves to celebrate something politically which might help us to continue a majority, which would help. But I agree with you. You don't belittle the people who are working hard and believe in change, especially the smart people.
Yeah, look, final point on this issue for me is, I never really know. I mean, I tell you that all the time, right? So I hope I'm wrong about all this. I hope the health care bill is much, much better than I expected. And of course, maybe through the exchanges, if it really makes it to 2014 and we start the exchanges and that creates pressure, maybe it is, right? Maybe I misunderstand it somehow. And maybe financial reform is a lot better than I expect, and it's little by little it gets stronger and stronger. I'm not saying I'm 100% right, but it's a different thing to say I'm crazy. Like,
Totally.
It's
ridiculous to say you're crazy.
Yeah, to say, oh, no, well, you wanted derivatives reform. Come on. You're never satisfied. But derivatives are what caused the crash. So, yeah, of course I wanted derivatives reform.
Maybe you should have some derivatives reform.
Yeah. So, all right, well, there's no way to sort that out, but I know this is bad politics. So, all right, let's take a quick break here. We got more on Obama and which direction he's going, and then we're going to try to rip Evan Bayh apart. Young Turks. All right, back on the Young Turks. Well, we were talking about Democratic strength or not. Are they strong? Are they going the right direction? Well, you got to give Carnahan some credit here. She's going to run an ad against Roy Blunt in Missouri that is definitely strong. So let's watch. Number 8.
I'm Robin Carnahan, and I approve this message.
You just said a moment ago that you have to show that you're the party of reform, but some question whether you are the man to do that. In 2002, you tried to insert language into the Homeland Security Act to help Philip Morris Tobacco while you were dating that company's lobbyist, and your campaign committees paid $485,000 to a firm linked to lobbyist Jack Abramoff. Are you the one to clean up the house?
Roy Blunt, the very worst of Washington.
Oh, damn! Man, that was a jackhammer. Suplex!
So that's Robin Carnahan's ad. Fox News has filed suit against the campaign They did that Wednesday, saying unauthorized footage, I believe we pronounced that, from the network was used deceptively in the attack ad. Fox says Carnahan's campaign used the footage to give the impression that Fox News Sunday host Chris Wallace was endorsing her over her opponent, Roy Blunt.
Nobody got that.
No one got that impression. But here's the best part of this. Here's the quote from the lawsuit. The Carnahan ad is designed to make it appear as if Wallace, a trusted journalist, and I'm not even knocking that. Chris Wallace, if you're going to pick people from Fox who are less offensive than others, you would pick him. But I love that they're like, as if Wallace, a trusted journalist, he's one of our few, is instead speaking as a campaign operative. No, it does not look like, you know what it looks like? It looks like he's a guy on a show interviewing Roy Blunt. Network said it infringed its copyright by using the ad from a 2006 Wallace interview with Blunt.
All right, here's what it looked like. It looked like it was a question, and he didn't get to answer it.
Well,
okay.
By the way, and I'm sure Blunt, by the way, answered it. That's where the context was taken out. I'm sure.
No, of course.
Yeah,
I'm saying as an ad, as I look at that as an objective person, as a progressive, I like it because here's a Democrat fighting hard, right? As an objective person, I look at that ad and go, okay, but what was his answer, right? Yeah. So, and I get that you clipped it out of an interview and you didn't let the guy answer in your ad. Yeah. Everybody gets that, right? Nobody thinks that Chris Wallace is saying that. He's asking a question.
Yeah, and by the way, I mean, that's the thing about Roy Blunt. They weren't the guys to clean up Washington. He was part of the Republican leadership. They're in the most sort of ethically challenged period in congressional history. And he doesn't deserve to be in Congress. He doesn't deserve to be a senator. And if people in Missouri know what's right, they'll elect Robin Carnahan and take Kit Bond's seat. We'll pick one up.
Ben Mankiewicz is one of our most trusted journalists.
Ben Mankiewicz.
Okay.
A trusted journalist.
Okay. Well, it's just taken out of context there by us. Okay. So now listen, one more thing. Blunt was Tom DeLay's number 2 guy, okay? Yeah. His right-hand man. So, I mean...
I'd run that ad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when they complain about the establishment Republicans, when the Tea Party does, et cetera, they're talking about Roy Blunt, okay? Yeah. The Roy Blunt is the guy who did all the pork barrel spending, did all the, shortcuts, all the things that Chris Wallace was just asking him about. Yeah. And his answer to that is not a good answer.
Hey, Jesus, as we move on here, and just interrupt us when you get it, can we do a pictures of Roy Blunt? It's my favorite thing to do. Pictures of Roy Blunt and Ben Nelson, because these guys go to the same barber. And, and these guys, I swear to, look, I'm not even kidding. Like, you shouldn't put people in Congress who wear their hair like this. Because, I mean, if you had him, like, you see a guy with that hair, you know he's dishonest. He's selling you something you don't need. His car has no engine. It's not going to drive. If you get 50 miles outside the lot, look at that. Like, you think that guy's honest? Really? That's Ben Nelson. But Roy Blunt might be worse. It's atrocious. It's offensive.
You remember the last
Shave your head. Come on.
It's funny.
Look at that guy. Really? Really? Yeah. Whatever he's saying, I'm sure it's true. I'm sure it's totally true. He's being completely honest.
You know, they look pretty similar too. Other than Roy Blunt's like comic book eyebrows.
Totally. His Joker-like eyebrows.
Right.
Yeah. Come on. Come on, Ben Nelson. Really?
Yeah. Sometimes I call him Lego Man.
Yeah.
Because he's got the Lego hair that you click on there.
Yeah, you could totally take it off. Yeah, he'd have a big flat head like Frankenstein.
And remember the last guy with the questionable hair was a guy from Ohio, Traficant.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and he had questionable hair.
Spent 8 years in federal prison.
Yeah, went to federal prison. And then when he went to federal, there he is.
Yes, come on.
Nicely done. And when he went to federal prison, they made him take his toupee off.
But he couldn't even sell used cars.
That's too much.
That's too much.
Yeah. And then there's that.
And Rod Blagojevich. Right, exactly. These guys can't be trusted.
We see a pattern here.
Yeah, come on.
Ben's onto something here.
Hey, by the way, 3 of those guys are Democrats, but they can't be trusted.
Yeah, no, there you go. Okay, the new Ben Mankiewicz hair rule. Yeah. If you can't trust the guy's hair, you can't trust his politics.
You can just tell.
I love it. All right, now, back to Obama. So, President Obama has nominated Elizabeth Warren to be the head of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Kind of. Mm-hmm. But we're not really entirely sure if that really happened or not. We're going to get into his explanation in a second. But already the Republicans are on the attack. Okay? So Judge
That's a good sign.
Yeah. Well, it is a good sign. That means you got the right person. Senator Judd Gregg from New Hampshire, who Obama, remember, was going to make his Commerce Department head.
And who took the job, like, Larry Brown, for a couple hours.
Yeah. He's gone on the warpath, as usual, against Elizabeth Warren. Let's listen to his comical complaints. Clip number 7.
What do you make of this choice for the new Financial Protection Agency?
Well, first off, I think it's a terrible adulteration of the process. This position, as it's structured in the financial reform bill, is going to be one of the most powerful positions in Washington. It creates a person in charge of an agency which is going to have almost $1 billion budget, which is not overseen by the Congress. All the money flows into her accounts without any congressional oversight. The only time that Congress has any input, or the American people have any input on whoever gets appointed to that position, is at the appointment time, and then they get a 5-year term.
What is your concern about what she would do?
My concern is that she would use the agency for the purposes of promoting social justice versus for the purposes of promoting better credit and having a stronger financial system. When you separate the credit process from the banking regulatory atmosphere, you're creating a basic conflict there. And if you got somebody who's in charge of who's going to have to supply credit, who's got a social justice agenda versus an agenda of actually getting credit out to people who can pay back and making sure that those people are told what the cost of their credit is, you've got a problem for the banking system, and we've already been through a banking system problem. We don't need another one.
Social justice? No! We don't want that. No, that would be terrible for Americans. Now, I mean, get a load of all this. First, he's like, oh, all this money flows right into her accounts. As if like she's going to take it home. Right. No, she's supposed to be looking out for us. She's the one regulating. This is what's going to happen. She's going to be like, hey,
Elizabeth Warren.
It's cool, it's cool, it's cool. No big deal. No big deal.
No, I was just moving it to another part of the office.
Yeah, come on, man. And then, second of all, he says,
by the way, this is isopropyl alcohol.
Yeah, so I don't think she'd have taken that.
Yeah.
There's much better catch out there. So now, the real thing that she's doing with that so-called $1 billion is she's looking over stuff, okay? So she's making sure that the banks aren't robbing us. She's looking out for social justice in that sense. And he says, look, this is going to, not going to create a better credit in the country. But we gave all the bankers all the money without any checks and balances. And did we get credit flowing in the country? No, we didn't. We got the exact opposite because we didn't look over their shoulder. And then at the last part, for him to comically come out and say, we had a banking disaster, and looking over to see what the bankers are doing to make sure they don't crash the economy, well, that would cause another one. No, that would prevent another one.
Yeah, getting credit to, we want to make sure we get credit to the people who can pay it back. Does he not get it? Newspapers in New Hampshire? Is that because we can probably fix that? We could get some sort of service that delivers newspapers or the internet to people in New Hampshire, and maybe that'll solve the problem. Because, if I'm not mistaken, the crux of the problem was that the banks gave loans to people who couldn't pay them back. And they sold those loans to other people, and nobody cared whether it was going to do it. It was like, the credit ratings are awesome. Who cares? Doesn't make any difference. So the problem was we gave credit to people who couldn't pay them back. And now we've hired someone to make sure that doesn't happen, and he's complaining that the danger is that we will give credit to people who can't pay it back. I believe I'm not even paraphrasing. That's exactly what he just said.
Now, look, the whole Republican Party is nothing but an excuse to go look out for the rich, Wall Street, and bankers. That's not, that's not some political statement. It's just, it's a fact. I mean, look, she's hired. It was her idea in the first place to do an agency that looks out for you, the consumers, right? They despise that. Well, to the core of their being, they hate that. They said, no, you don't look out for consumers. That's goddamn social justice. No, you look out for the bankers, okay? Right, and you make sure you get more money going to the bankers without any rules or regulations.
If the system works right, if capitalism works right and the loan process works right and the banks sort of make the profit they're supposed to make and the loan process works right and money is lent to companies and companies then expand their businesses and hire people, then it filters down and it helps out consumers. That's the Consumer Protection Agency, banks. And obviously that doesn't happen. And by the way, that wasn't happening before the crash. It's just not because we rewarded enormous risk. We didn't reward thoughtful risk. we rewarded literally risky risk. That's what the system was designed to reward. So, but let's forget about all that, and let's forget about your sort of your populism rant there about the Republican Party. Because what I'm curious about is language, and that a party and a sort of with a media network that the Republicans have had, a noise machine, as we used to call it, for really, 30 years now, a successful one that has been so good at ruining the word liberal and has constantly found the right language to use. I think they've failed in choosing to use the term social justice. It's a peculiar phrase because he used it twice. They use it all the time.
Beck says it every day.
I don't think it's ever going to land. I think I think that sounds good. It's not socialism. We don't associate social justice with socialism. For crying out loud, one of the two words in it is justice.
Yeah, no, I think you're 100% right. But that's exactly where the Republican Party is. They're at such an extreme, and they're so cocky. They think we can smear any word. It doesn't matter. Give us a word and we'll smear it, right? So we're going to smear social justice. But think about why they want to do that. Because they don't want social justice. I mean, what kind of sick party is this? Well, why is anybody voting for these guys? I mean, again, if you're Lloyd Blankfein, or you're one of the top executives on Wall Street, I get why you're voting for him. I 100% get it, right? But if you're not one of those guys, you're a regular American, and they don't want you to get justice, how stupid are you? I mean, why do you keep giving these guys your votes when they keep taking your money and giving it to the richest people in the country? It's fucking crazy. It is. You'd have to be nuts to vote for Republicans. I'm serious.
The banking system failed to a degree that we don't have, that most Americans, including myself, I think you're an exception, do not have a full appreciation of how bad it was and how close to a complete collapse we came, and how much of it was just their fault and their greed and their greed, which led to their carelessness motivated by their greed. And the notion that it could be fixed because they're like, oh, we won't make that mistake again. They won't for a few years. They won't until 2013, when human nature and the fact that it's unchecked will unquestionably lead them to make a mistake, and maybe it'll be a different mistake. But it'll be a mistake, and it'll happen again.
We haven't fixed the fucking thing. I mean, look, I'm getting frustrated. Okay, they're doing the same exact thing. I know exactly what the nitty-gritty details are. They're doing the same thing they are today than they were before, except they're taking more of our money that got funneled to them, taking it home. Later, they're going to tell you the same exact thing that they're telling you about the Social Security surplus now. What are you going to do? The money's gone. Okay? And look, quick example of it, okay, to talk about nitty-gritty details. You know Lehman Brothers is back. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Now, so we thought it was bankrupt. That was the big thing, right?
Yeah.
It's gone, right?
It's gone.
So they put it into receivership, and they got to liquidate the assets to get it out to the creditors. Makes sense.
Sell the desks.
Yeah, sell the desks, sell the real estate holdings they have left. You're going to get pennies on the dollar because they screwed it up, and you got very little left, right? They bring in these guys, and they start rebuilding it. And you know what? They actually did a couple of interesting moves, and they took the $33 billion they had left in assets. Now, they used to have $600 billion, right? And they brought it up to $50 billion, okay? So if they sold it now, you say, hey, you know what? Not bad. They got a little bit more, almost 50% more for the creditors, right? Good, right? No. But they're not stopping. First of all, that group that's running the receivership is a whole other company. They've already sucked out $900 million from Lehman Brothers.
Really?
So it's not going to the creditors, it's going to them, okay? Now, second of all, but that's all still okay, especially if they sold now, right? Because the value's gone up. They're back to derivatives trading. Lehman Brothers, who is massively bankrupt, they're borrowing money because they think, oh, no, we can make the value go even higher if we just do some derivatives trading.
Right, and get out at the right time.
Yes.
Right.
So they're back to doing derivatives trading at Lehman. You think it's fixed? You think they're gone? They're not gone. No, it's a disaster waiting to happen. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Obama's right. I complain too much.
Well,
we're going to find out.
We'll hear from Obama hiring Elizabeth Warren, and then we'll get a little trailer of really the movie that taught me more about this, because maybe I needed to see it visually, and hopefully will tell many Americans who perhaps don't understand it as well as you do, and many other economists do, called Inside Job by a filmmaker called Charles Ferguson, and I saw it up at Telluride. But then I had a chance to talk to him afterwards, and I just asked him 2 questions. I was quick and direct, and I got 2 really good answers, and one of them was about Elizabeth Warren. And so we'll have that. We'll hear from Obama on Warren, and we'll play that trailer, and I'll tell you what his answers were to the questions about Elizabeth Warren and Eliot Spitzer.
All right, that's right when we come back. Young Turks. Turks. Back on the Young Turks. It's Yank and Ben with you. So Barack Obama has nominated Elizabeth Warren for the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, we think, but we're not entirely sure. We're going to let you decide for yourself because we're going to play the clip, listen to him carefully, and see if you can figure out what she's been nominated for, or selected for, I should say. Clip number 6.
Now, getting this agency off the ground will be an enormously important task, a task that can't wait. And that task is something that I've asked Elizabeth to take on. Secretary Geithner and I both agree that Elizabeth is the best person to stand this agency up. She was the architect behind the idea for a consumer watchdog, so it only makes sense that she should be the architect working with Secretary of Treasury Geithner in standing up the agency. She will help oversee all aspects of the Bureau's creation, from staff recruitment to designing policy initiatives to future decisions about the agency. She will have direct access to me and to Secretary Geithner, and she will oversee a staff at the Treasury Department that has already begun to work on this task. She will also play a pivotal role in helping me determine who the best choice is for director of the Bureau. And given the importance of these economic issues, I also want Elizabeth to have a role as a White House advisor, as well as advisor to Secretary Geithner on consumer issues. And I'm proud that we got this done, and I'm equally proud that Elizabeth Warren will be helping to make her original vision a reality. So we are extremely proud of you, Elizabeth. Good luck.
All right, yes, good luck to you.
Why not make her director, Mr. President? Why not submit her to confirmation?
Yeah, no, not going to answer that one. Okay, so classic Obama, and I'm torn as usual. Is he doing the right thing by splitting the baby, or is this ridiculous, right? So what is he doing and why is he doing it? So number one, he's saying, well, she's not the director, but she's going to help choose the director, and she's going to stand up to agency, meaning to start the whole agency. So he says to the liberals and progressives, hey, you wanted Elizabeth Warren? I gave you Elizabeth Warren. She's going to start the agency. He turns to the conservatives and Republicans and say, oh, she's not the director. Don't worry about her. No. She's helping to pick the director, right? So there you go. You split the baby. And so
not even to the Republicans. It's to Chris Dodd. It's to Evan Bayh.
Definitely to the conservative Democrats, to the corporatist Democrats like Chris Dodd, who have sold out to the banks. So he's telling them, hey, don't worry. Now, again, it's classic dilemma because on the one hand, I want him to say, look, the president can nominate this person. And not only nominate, he can just select the person and they can serve indefinitely. I'm the president. That's what I'm doing, right? On the other hand...
Well, they can't serve indefinitely.
Actually, the way the law is written, they can, okay? Now, that's probably not ideal politically, but they can, according to the way the law is written, okay? So now, on the other hand, I get his constraints. Not only does he have Republicans, but he has people like Chris Dodd, who are very, very powerful banking chairman, although he's leaving at the end of the term, right? But he's got him sitting there going, no way on Warren. No, the banks are going to pay my checks in a couple of weeks, you know.
They don't want her.
And the banks don't want her. So now how are you going to get her confirmed if the Democrats and the Republicans won't confirm her? Because they're both sold out to the banks. So I'm torn on that. You know, maybe he did the right thing. Maybe in this case, splitting the baby was right. And at least she gets to start the agency.
I want to get to this other thing about Elizabeth Warren. I will ask you this question. If the Democrats were in a position to stop a nomination of George Bush, and instead he made this person a special advisor to the president with the power to pick the person and start up the whole agency, what would you have said?
I probably almost certainly would have been against it, okay?
But what would you think about what they had done?
About what?
What would you think of Bush's move politically?
Oh, it was strong.
Right. This is strong. This is good. He went around. I think this only deserves praise. There's a fight. This was going to take a while. This was going to detract attention. He said, screw you. She's in charge of the whole thing. And maybe even more so, she's a special advisor of the president with direct access to me and Tim Geithner.
Yeah, now, I hear you, and that's why I'm telling you. I'm not sure that I'm right on this. You know me, I like to go all the way. Look, when...
real quick, and if we believe in her, and if she ends up resigning during a process where we hear that her choice to run the agency isn't being picked, well, then it's a battle lost. But if her choice to run the agency is ultimately the choice, and she picks someone who they don't know and know how to fight her, but she knows is going to be okay, then it's a success.
It's 3/4 of a success. The right director is her, right? If she Dick Cheney's it and picks herself, then we're got a massive win, right?
Yeah, but if there's a special advisor to the president, it's arguably it could be a bigger role than her. I mean, she could be an influential consumer advocate with more power.
Except she reports to the president and the Treasury Secretary. So my guess as to how Tim Geithner will treat that will be like, oh, Liz was in here?
Yeah, she also, I don't know. She also works for the president. I don't know. My sense is this is a strong move.
Right. And like I said, I'm split on it. One last thing. To answer your question with a specific, when George Bush came in and said, okay, you guys aren't going to confirm John Bolton as United Nations ambassador, well, that's it. I'm just nominating him and it's over, right? One, I disagree with that. John Bolton was a loathsome guy. He couldn't have made it through the hearings, et cetera. So keep it real. I'm telling you, look, when the shoe was on the other foot, I didn't like it, okay? So that's keeping it real. Now, this second part of that is, you know how much it hurt John Bolton? Not one scintilla.
No.
He was the UN ambassador, and no one ever cared how he became UN ambassador.
Right.
So all this talk about, oh my God, should he do that? That would take away credibility and legitimacy. No one cares. Okay.
No, it's rather take away credibility and legitimacy from a job that hadn't even started yet. We don't even know what the job is.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like there are previous things. This clip is long. It's like 2:18, and we got to talk about it. So we'll do it we'll do it after the
All right. So there's a great clip coming up.
So we'll talk more about Elizabeth Warren later in the show.
Yes, exactly. Okay. So let's take a break here. Come back with Anna. We got a lot of great show ahead for you guys.